Welcome back. Anglican priest Christian Glasgow is calling for the National Youth Council to be given time and space to conduct a thorough and fair investigation into sexual misconduct allegations. He says the public should be more empathetic and provide encouragement and guidance to resolve the matter as opposed to chastisement.
2 weeks ago, the public learned of an investigation by the St. Lucia National Youth Council following allegations of sexual misconduct by a senior member involving 2 students. Following an extraordinary General Council meeting, it was concluded that an independent committee would lead a fact-finding mission and investigation into the allegations. The process is scheduled to culminate on June 25, 2021. Anglican priest Christian Glasgow weighed in on the matter. He says many times mistakes happen and many organizations have had scandal. However, when the matter involves youth who are trying to find their way in life, it is the responsibility of all to ensure that incidents of such a nature are not allowed to fester.
I agree that it is unfortunate that this has happened. And I agree that this has tainted the credibility of the National Youth Council. But I also know that any institution that has a human input is an imperfect institution, and there is always the possibility, in spite of all the high morals and ideals, there's always a possibility that that human input may bring it down. This is one of those cases, but I also believe that as a Christian, it is in such a time that we need to help to rebuild that institution and to ensure that by the type of support given, we don't have a recurrence of these problems.
The council has expressed that upon completion of the investigation, they will be in a better position to make a more informed decision on the governance of the organization. Glasgow says for that to happen, the court of public opinion needs to allow the council's investigation to run its course.
We need to give the National Youth Council some space. They have written to the nation through the media houses, asking to allow them to investigate the matter and to come back to us. And I think we need to give them that space. I don't think they're just trying to cover it up. If you've been following the situation, you've noticed that they have taken some very strong measures of, first of all, acknowledging that there's a problem. Secondly, they have also suspended persons believed to be involved in the issue, and they are now going through their process of determining the facts. And it is my belief that when the facts are determined, they would act accordingly.
He maintains that there are experiences that youth need to learn from while navigating life in order to come out stronger.
Many adults felt it necessary to interfere in the work of the youth without understanding that the youth has to fall down and bruise his knee from time to time in order to understand the authority given in leadership. And I believe our National Youth Council here must be given that space to do just that. Yes, we need to keep an eye on them and to ensure that it is not just a cop-out of asking for the space, but we must give them that space. And if at the end of the day they do not produce, then we take them to task. I would want to say to the National Youth Council that as a pastor and as someone who's grown up in youth work, if there's need for any assistance of counseling of any sort in that manner, I stand ready to assist.
The National Youth Council has chosen not to disclose who the members of its esteemed independent committee are. In addition, the council has agreed to provide psychosocial support to the parties directly affected by the situation. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzaga.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness today, Thursday, the 27th of May, received confirmation from the Ezra Long lab of 22 new cases of COVID-19. This from a batch of 305 samples. The contact tracing for these new cases is underway. The Ministry of Health also received confirmation of the recovery of 26 individuals, bringing the total number of active cases to 168. Presently, one of the active cases is requiring critical care at the respiratory hospital. The new cases bring the total number of cases diagnosed in country to date to 5,002. U.S. President Joe Biden has ordered intelligence officials to redouble efforts to investigate the origins of COVID-19. He said the U.S. intelligence community was split on whether it came from a lab accident in China or emerged from human contact with an infected animal. President Biden asked the groups to report back to him within 90 days. China has rejected the lab theory.
China has warned against politicizing any attempt to find out how the virus first emerged. Mr. Biden's order highlights just how little we really do know about where the virus came from. Let's tell you what we do know. In early 2020, Chinese officials said that the outbreak had begun at a Wuhan market, blaming illegal wildlife sales, although that theory is contested. The presence of a virology lab in Wuhan led some to suggest that the virus was man-made or had accidentally escaped. In March, a joint WHO and Chinese report dismissed the possibility of a lab leak as extremely unlikely. Instead, it concluded that transmission from an animal to a human was much more likely. But there has been so much criticism of this report. The director of the US National Institute of Health, who told senators on Wednesday, we cannot exclude the possibility of some kind of lab accident. Let's join Professor Dale Fisher, who is an infectious disease expert from the National University Hospital in Singapore. Good to see you again, Professor Fisher. We've got China coming out today saying don't politicize this. But what do you make of the momentum behind this issue right now, and President Biden saying, look, there's 90 days to investigate more closely the origins of the virus?
So thanks for having me back. It's all come about, I think, because of this Wall Street Journal article, which is referencing some US intelligence that 3 workers from the Wuhan Institute of Virology went to hospital a month or so before the outbreak started. If that's true, I don't know it's true, but if it's true, that would be disappointing, because this would be the sort of evidence that you'd like to have thought would have been made public by now. If you're wondering if there was a lab outbreak, then to actually disprove it, the best ways to do it are to show that you're not working on a virus that we now know as SARS-CoV-2, and also to show that no one has gotten sick. There's been no clusters. So this would be the sort of evidence. So as I say, if it's true that there were people that had an illness compatible with COVID, then it's a pity this wasn't disclosed. But as I say, we don't know that. They could have gone there for a completely different reason. Do
you believe, Professor Fisher, that we will ever have a definite answer on the origins of the virus?
So where we are now is that the current hypotheses, the WHO work group came up with 4, but there's really little evidence making any of them stronger than the other. As you mentioned, the evidence for the lab really is that there is a lab. There's nothing else particularly stronger about that, and the evidence about a more natural species jump is that this is how it's happened for centuries, especially over the last 40 or 50 years, that viruses mutate and they jump species, and we just haven't found that link yet. So will we ever get there? I'm not sure we're going to get there the way we're going. There is a lot of research still happening. I think we do need to be a bit patient, but we also need to be diplomatic. We can't do this without support from China. It needs to be a no-blame environment. You never get to the bottom of an outbreak if your opening line is, if this is your fault, you're in big trouble.
That report from the BBC. A political novice is eyeing the Ansari-Canry seat as he hopes to bring transformative change to the people in that constituency. Wayne Gerard was in the hot seat on Wednesday night and shared with the rest of St. Lucia why they should choose a Labour Party government to lead them for the next 5 years.
The constituency of ancillary canneries has been called the poorest in St. Lucia, with some residents still relying heavily on public facilities for basic services. But one man who is new to the political scene says that's about to change if constituents choose him to represent them and champion their causes. Wayne Gerard is the SLP-endorsed candidate for that constituency and was in the hot seat on Wednesday. He shared why he believes those constituents are worth more than merely working in the hotel sector.
There can't be a situation where all the young people of ancillary and canneries are good for is to work in a hotel, fixing beds and serving drinks. We need to find out clearly what is the skill set of the people of ancillary canneries. In the absence of that, we can't properly say we are assigning jobs to them. We need to deal with the issue of people having access to their homes after 6 o'clock, for example. It can be a situation where people have to go to work, earn a living, further their education, but they can't get home once that is done. We need to consider having access to public washroom facility in the interim. I mean, the goal should be that everyone should have the use of a bathroom in the privacy of their home. But as of now, what is required is access 24/7 to the public washroom facility. It can.
But before those transformative plans can happen, Gerard says that more groundwork needs to be done. According to him, critical data is lacking to make a more sound decision that will best benefit the people of ancillary canneries.
Given the existence of, I said earlier, all those assets within the ancillary canneries constituency, we're talking waterfalls, pretty phenomenal diving spots. We need to have this overarching structure that contributes to the development of ancillary canneries. The revenues from those resources, from those assets, could be used to the benefit of the people of ancillary canneries. That, I think, is what's missing. We have the talent, we have the land, we have the motivation, but what is actually missing is that the capital to allow for some of the small, what we call the small businesses, those who don't have access to traditional banking, those who do not have access to a ready source of capital, to be able to approach an institution and get some sort of relief in terms of trying to achieve something in their life.
Gerard will go up against the current MP Dominic Fady in the upcoming general election. For the Hot 7 News, Lucia Charles reporting.
Stay with us. There's more news after the break.